Welcome back to the Creative Process podcast with myself, Jared Klein. Today on episode, oh boy, I'm gonna have to look here. What's the episode? 32, I think. If it loads, are you gonna load? Maybe going to load. I think it's episode 32. I'm almost positive it's episode 32. Yeah. Episode 32. Today, obviously by the title of things, you can tell what this episode is going to be about. But first off, I just want to, like I always do, I want to reach out and thank you for coming out to the episode today. I know the past, handful, maybe like 5 or 6, maybe like 5 or 6 have been alternating with guests and then myself. I know you guys love seeing guests on, so don't worry. We're not leaving without guests. We're going to have more people on. We're going to have more people to be able to tell their stories and be able to share everything with you guys. But, yeah, so there's a little bit of a, sometimes, schedules don't really work out and stuff like that. So when it comes to getting a guest, it's not always picture perfect. So, yeah. Anyways, today we are going to be talking about something that gets glazed over, I think, when it comes to episodes with guests. But today we are going to be talking about how to build your design portfolio. This is based off of experience. When I was in college, we had a whole course, like a whole semester course based off of this topic, and I'm kind of crunching it into a small, sample size of, what you can kind of get out of today, basically when it comes to building a portfolio, what you should consider, what I considered, what you, different ways you can go, different platforms you can use, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, if you have a portfolio already and you have an established portfolio, you can listen in a way of how can I either improve my portfolio, what things have I not thought of, am I considering this or not, or you can just, listen to it, and if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. Sometimes it doesn't. If you don't have a portfolio, this will be a great starting point. Like if you're in college and you're looking to build your portfolio as soon as possible, or you're just starting out as a designer and you haven't been able to get around to building a portfolio and giving examples of your work, this should be a great episode for you. So anyways, why build an online portfolio? Mainly for myself, it was to establish my creative identity. It was to showcase work that I was proud of, and it was for me to be able to see what I've done. It made it easy for myself to be able to go to a place where I can see my work all in one spot. I got like one of the bullet points I wrote down here is viewing it as a time capsule. Personally, I like to view my portfolio as a time capsule because it gives me, I'm able to see my progression rather than just stocking work on my computer, and on my, hard drives and stuff like that. I'm able to see it all there, I'm able to look back on projects. There's a great thing about Behance where I hold my portfolio. Behance allows you to have drafts. So when a project that you have on your portfolio is a little outdated, you can take it down and unpublish it, but it stays, you can keep it as a draft. So as the creator of the portfolio, you're still able to look back at those. You're still able to kind of, dive into those. But I love it for that. You're being able to see my progress, being able to look back at my previous work and look back at what I did well, what I did horribly, what I could improve on and stuff like that. And also having a portfolio makes it easy for possible clients to access your work without reaching out to you, to be able to, make a judgment and make it easy for them, as well as, not let alone clients, but also employers. If you're applying for a job and you have your portfolio on your resume or someplace to access a portfolio on your resume, it's easy for them to view your work. So they don't have to badger you for things. And sometimes when it comes to easeability of, not easeability, but like seamless application process, and you never know what small hiccup in your resume or in your application process that's going to tip you off or tip them off to not consider you. I know some people, when it comes to looking at job applications, they see, super small things that sometimes, it takes that small amount to be not considered, especially if some job positions or job openings or whatever you want to call it have so many applicants. Sometimes they're super critical about how you present yourself and how you represent yourself and stuff like that. So making sure it's as easy as possible for employers or clients to view your work. That's why you should build an online portfolio. When it comes to building your online portfolio, the question that I get a lot is which portfolio site you should use one, or how should you build one. There's no right or wrong answer for this, really. It's what works for you. Personally, I use Behance. It works just as good as building your own portfolio. Yes, a website is super nice, and I think in the future I will probably transition into getting a website and building a website, because I am doing a lot more personal work, i.e. this podcast, but also having plans for running other things and doing other things when it comes to my career. So in the long run, I think a website would be good to house a lot of the stuff that I'm going to end up doing. But at current time, I think my Behance portfolio does the job. It does an adequate amount of showcasing my work, of making a spot for me to put my work into something, and it's a lot of hands off, plug and play type of stuff. So I can build my projects very easy there and showcase my work very easily there. But you can use other sites, like Dribbble is a specific one when it comes to branding and people who primarily go in branding, and I see a lot of UI and UX stuff on there, as well as some small motion projects on there as well. There's another one that is in collaboration with Behance and ran by Adobe. It's called Adobe Portfolio. You can run that. It's through your Behance portfolio, but you can have your own website. I believe I have mine set up, and I had to have it set up for a collegiate course, and like my final portfolio review and everything like that, I had to have an online presence somehow. So I think that's the only reason I set it up. But it does basically establish a website for you, but it goes through your Behance and it links with your Behance, so it's really easy for projects to go on there. When it comes to website builders, you can go with Wix. I've used Wix in the past. It's really easy. Same with Weebly, and one that's coming up more and more now. It was super popular to begin with, but one that's coming up more and more is one that's called Squarespace. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of this. Don't worry, the podcast isn't sponsored by Squarespace yet, but those website builders are very easy drag and drop type of stuff. So whatever floats your boat, basically. I've seen sometimes where someone's link in their bio on Twitter for their portfolio was a Google Slides presentation formatted into a PDF link that can very easily go into your portfolio or go into your bio, or you can have a link to it and it pulls up like a PowerPoint presentation, but you can design it how you want it. Using the words PowerPoint presentation is just to describe and give you guys a better idea, but it's like a paged document PDF of different, of your portfolio. I've seen that. So there's plenty of different ways to go when it comes to building a portfolio, what to use for a portfolio and everything like that. Next, how to build your portfolio. Basically what I started as I made sure I was putting content in my portfolio that I wanted to represent and that I wanted to be proud of. I knew from the jump I didn't need to put every single project that I worked on into my portfolio, simply because, sometimes it's just to get it done type of stuff. Sometimes work that you do isn't always portfolio ready. I mean, it's simply put, you're putting stuff on your portfolio that is going to represent you in the best way possible. Personally, for me, if I even have the slightest amount of doubt that X piece isn't to the best of my ability, I don't even consider it for my portfolio. There's a handful of things that I've worked on in my job right now and in jobs in the past that haven't even seen the light of day with my name attached to it. Sometimes that's just how it goes. Sometimes you make stuff and sometimes you're just not the proudest of it, and sometimes it just isn't portfolio material, and that's just what it is. You are thinking about how to represent yourself in the best way, and sometimes things just don't go that way. Start with knowing what your goals are when it comes to your portfolio. I know this is a weird question, but is it to showcase your work? When it comes to showcasing work, is it for fun? Is it to showcase your work for fun? Are you looking for clients? But like I just mentioned, are you showcasing your work for possible clients or for possible jobs? There's, if you're showcasing it more for fun, then you're going to be a little bit more lenient when it comes to what projects are on there. For my instance, I wouldn't have any drafts. I would keep all of my old work on my portfolio if it was just for fun. But since I am using my portfolio when it comes to sending out to clients, and I had my portfolio ready when I applied for the job that I currently have, I'm a little bit more critical when it comes to putting stuff on my portfolio and what makes it on there. Is your portfolio to see your progress? And is your portfolio to show your peers? Just some things to think about. So is your portfolio to showcase work for fun or for possible jobs, or is it to see your progress and show your peers? Those are some key things that I thought of why you would what your goal is for your portfolio. And also when it comes to building your portfolio, adding personality to your portfolio. That's a great thing. That's one thing that I think is kind of undermined, especially within the esports community. In the sports community, it's more, I guess, real world to put it. It's more real world to put it, but to where, your identity isn't just your logo and what your social page is. Most of the time in esports, you gain a job, at least when I was getting freelance work and stuff, most of the time in esports, you would gain a job based off of your social platforms. You wouldn't have to apply, go to an in-person interview, have people know you by your face, and everything like that. But adding personality to your portfolio sometimes is when it comes to explaining your projects. When I do this on my Behance portfolio, I add the little bit of quirkiness that I have, the little bit of more, I guess, creative language that I have when it comes to explaining things. You can add personal touches of your style. The great thing when it comes to this is look at content creators. When it comes to expressing your style, look at content creators, like vlogging content creators. Ones that come to mind are, for me, I watch Big E, and I watch Jayhawk. Those are some guys that I think, in my recent watchings, that their content isn't super tied down to one thing. They do multiple things, but when it comes to each of those subjects that they make their content about, they showcase their style very, very well. Another thing to add on your portfolio when it comes to adding personality is, you can showcase videos. You can showcase videos of yourself explaining things. You can showcase, I know on some websites, if you use a website, when you scroll, your main header image or your slide image or hero slide, whatever you want to call it, can be a video. So it can be a video, like for me, for my example, if I wanted to showcase myself on my podcast, I would, make sure something's animated like this, using my hands, explaining things like this, and maybe I would use this as a backing to my website, me explaining something on my podcast. That would be a good idea. just to give an example. Or, just simple things. Maybe even doing just a voiceover. Excuse me. Just doing like a voiceover to explanations of your projects. That'd be cool. And also one thing that I'm starting to see people stray away from is just using their logo as their form of identification. I'm 24 now. Back in the day when I first started, yes, my logo was on my portfolio constantly, and as my profile image constantly, simply because I had those issues with, this is online. Do I want people seeing my face? Do I not want people seeing my face? And that type of stuff. But now I'm 24, I feel like I don't have to worry about those things anymore as much. So I'm open to having my face represent me online. That's just the way of the road. Sometimes that's a decision you have to make with yourself. But personally, I think, especially as a designer, you should use your face as your primary identification rather than your logo. I think your logo in different types of collateral is your primary stuff. Obviously, it gives an identity to you. That's like your brand mark when someone can't see your face. But yeah, I think using your face as a primary form of identification should be what you go for when it comes to your portfolio and everything. All in all, when it comes to your portfolio, just have confidence in what you're putting on there. Have confidence in it. If you don't have confidence in it, and if you have the slightest doubt in it, it's like, what is it? Beyond a reasonable doubt. If you have a reasonable doubt when it comes to adding work or deciding on what projects should be on my portfolio and which projects shouldn't, then don't add them. You should be 100% confident when it comes to the work that you have on your portfolio, and you should be able to back it up. There will be an episode when it comes down the road here about explaining your work. That'll be a more like something I learned in college, like a more collegiate, more educated episode, more informative episode, but that one will be down the road. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one about portfolios. It's always a hot topic when it comes to new designers and experienced designers on how they can improve their portfolio. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode 31 of the Creative Process Podcast with myself, Jared Klein. Stay tuned for episode 32. And as always, make sure you tell someone that you love them. All right, I will see you next episode. Peace.